Grief plays tricks on the mind. That sometimes, when the pain is too much, your brain invents ghosts just to keep breathing. But what if the ghost is real? What if it knows your name? What if it remembers the special knock you taught it and uses it? That knock brought me out of bed last night. 3 slow taps on the wall from the inside. 2 years. 733 days to be exact. That's how long it's been since Ethan vanished on that trail near Bitter Hollow. 1 minute he was skipping ahead on the mossy path, chasing the sunbeams cutting through the trees. The next, gone. No scream, no rustling. Just silence. We searched until our voices bled into the wind. The rangers, the dogs, the flyers. None of it brought him back. And worst of all, no body. You can't bury a ghost. Everyone told us to move on. But I couldn't. Not when I still hear his laugh echoing in the corners of my mind. Not when I sometimes wake up swearing I felt his little arms wrap around me. So when Mark suggested we go back, for closure, he said, I didn't say no. We returned to the Appalachian Mountains, to Bitter Hollow, to the very log cabin we stayed in the weekend Ethan vanished. It hadn't aged well. The wooden porch sagged like a tired sigh. Mold clawed up the sides. The door groaned like it remembered us. Even the forest around it looked different, darker, watching. The gas station woman turned pale when she saw the address. You folks ain't staying there, are you? She whispered. When Mark nodded, she muttered, It never lets go of the ones it takes. She wouldn't meet my eyes after that. I should have listened. First night I couldn't sleep. The air inside the cabin felt thick, like it hadn't been breathed in years. Every floorboard creaked like a whimper. Mark, exhausted, was out cold beside me. That's when I heard it. Knock, knock, knock. I froze. It wasn't random. It wasn't wind. It was Ethan's knock. Our special game when he wanted to be let in during hide and seek. Knock. Pause. Knock, knock. I bolted upright. The sound had come from the living room wall. My skin prickled with ice. Mark stirred but didn't wake. I tried to convince myself it was a memory trick. Cabins settling, rodents maybe. But deep down, I knew. Second night, the knocking came again. Louder this time. Knock, knock, knock. Followed by soft footsteps above us. But the cabin had no second floor. I woke Mark. He rubbed his face, annoyed. It's the wood expanding old house, but his voice wavered. That morning, I found something sitting on the fireplace hearth. A mud-caked action figure. Ethan's, the little astronaut with the chipped helmet. The same one we buried under his favorite tree near the trail when the search was called off. A farewell. I dropped it like it burned me. Later that day, a red hoodie appeared draped on the couch. His. I swear on everything, it was his. Still torn at the collar where it caught on the branch that day. Mark refused to talk about it. He barely looked at me. He started going outside late at night, wandering to the edge of the trees, mumbling. Once I followed. I heard him whisper, It's not time yet. She's not ready. Third night I dreamed of Ethan. He was in the dark. I couldn't see where, only hear him. Mommy? I can't breathe here anymore. It's cold. I don't like it. He talks through the walls now. I woke gasping, drenched in sweat. That morning, a crumpled sheet of paper lay on the kitchen table. Childlike scribbles, crayon, a drawing of the 3 of us, me, Mark, and Ethan. Only Ethan wasn't standing beside us. He was inside the wall, his tiny stick figure hand pressed against the inside panel of the cabin. That was the last straw. I waited until Mark dozed off on the 4th night. The knocking had returned, faster now, desperate, from behind the fireplace. Knock, knock, knock. I moved the tools, pried away the rotted wood, tore through insulation and soot-blackened brick until my fingers bled. And then I saw them. Tiny handprints, wet, fresh, smearing across the inside boards. Behind the hearth, a narrow crawl space descended into the earth. No human child could have fit there for long, but something had. The passage reeked of damp earth, old rust, and something sweet and rotted. I crawled in. Beneath the cabin was a nightmare, a cavern of toys, decayed stuffed animals, rusty trikes, rotted baby blankets, wooden beams with tooth marks, scratches, a tiny mold-covered shoe. Not Ethan's, but someone's. And in the center, a pile of dirt. Upon it sat a voice recorder. I pressed play. Ethan's voice crackled through static. "Mommy? Daddy? I'm here." I tried to knock, but he won't let me out. He said I'm part of the house now. "Please come get me, I'm so scared." The tape cut off in a scream. Something behind me moved. I ran. I didn't look back. We left Bitter Hollow at dawn. I never spoke of what I found under the cabin. Mark never mentioned the night he stood barefoot in the trees, whispering to something I couldn't see. We didn't talk about Ethan's voice, or the toys, or the wall. We sold the house, burned the clothes. I buried the drawing. Weeks passed. We tried to pretend, but grief is patient, and evil, even more so. Last night, it was late. Mark was already asleep. I turned out the light. Let the silence settle in, that same quiet I used to love. And then, from behind the bedroom wall, knock, knock, knock. My blood turned to ice. It was him. Here, hundreds of miles away from Bitter Hollow. Then a voice, muffled, just behind the drywall. Small, familiar. "Mommy, can I come out now?" I travel a lot for work. Software consulting gigs, seminars, workshops, city after city, airport after airport. You start to memorize the taste of stale coffee in hotel lobbies, the color of dim carpets under bad lighting, and the exact point when loneliness shifts into numb routine. This time it was Georgia, a small tech seminar in a nowhere town called Darrow. Everything was booked solid thanks to some local festival. The only vacancy within 40 miles was at the Pine View Lodge, a weather-beaten motel just off a cracked stretch of highway, half swallowed by woods. I pulled in just after 11 p.m. My GPS had frozen twice, and the last gas station was 15 miles back. I was exhausted, hungry, and running on fumes, mentally and physically. The lobby was dead quiet. A dusty ceiling fan rotated lazily above the desk, scattering dead flies. The clerk stood behind the counter, thin, pale, wearing a faded green shirt that might have been clean once. He didn't say a word, didn't smile, just stared, too long, too still. Then, without a blink, he reached beneath the counter and handed me a rusted key. Room 308 was etched into the tag like it had been clawed out, not printed. No ID check, no register to sign, just the key. I gave a tired nod and left. The hallway to 308 smelled like mold and pennies, something coppery in the air. No sound, no TVs, no other guests, not even the echo of footsteps. Just mine. When I entered the room, the first thing I noticed was the mirror, floor to ceiling, opposite the bed, screwed into the wall with thick iron bolts. Slightly crooked, not enough to scream wrong, just enough to feel it. The lights overhead flickered yellow, casting shadows in all the wrong places. The air was stale. The sheets had that odd motel stiffness, clean but used too many times. I dumped my bag, plugged in my phone. It was at 83%. Within seconds, the screen flickered, glitched, and went black. Dead. I frowned, unplugged, plugged again. Nothing. Even tried a hard reset. Still nothing. Then the TV turned on. By itself. No welcome channel, just loud, violent static. I turned it off. It clicked back on 10 seconds later. More static. That's when I heard it. Breathing. Not in the room. Inside the wall. Soft exhales. Slow. Deliberate. Like someone just behind the drywall, matching the rhythm of my own. I tried to shake it off. Told myself I was just tired. That exhaustion can warp perception. But when I glanced at the mirror again, I saw it. A blink. Not mine. I stepped closer. That's when I noticed the red glint. A tiny dot like a recording light, buried deep in the corner of the mirror. I leaned in, real close, and there it was. A camera lens, embedded behind the glass, watching. Someone had been watching me. Anger replaced fear. I grabbed my bag and stormed out, pounding my fist on the lobby desk. No answer, no clerk, no lights, no sound. I ran to the parking lot. Empty. No cars. Not even my own. Gone. Like it had never existed. I sprinted back to the room, breath ragged, and froze in the doorway. The mirror was gone. In its place, a doorway, narrow, black, slightly open, from the darkness behind it. I heard footsteps. Something should have told me to run, but I didn't. Whether it was curiosity or some force pulling me, I stepped in. The passage was narrow and damp. The walls crumbled with age, and the ceiling pressed down like it wanted to fall. A single light bulb swung on a frayed cord ahead. Then I saw them. Polaroids. Dozens. All of me. Me sleeping, changing clothes, sitting on the bed, staring at the mirror, all taken from inside the mirror. My breath caught in my throat. At the end of the tunnel was a crooked table. On it, a stack of driver's licenses. All men, different ages, different states, all missing. All previous guests? A monitor sat against the far wall. Flickering, it showed a live feed of me, right now, in this tunnel. I stepped back. The screen glitched, then changed. Now it showed the lobby, the clerk back at the desk, handing over a rusted key. Room 308, to someone new. I tried to scream, to run, but no sound came. Then, the scene changed again. It wasn't a tunnel anymore. It was the mirror. I was in it. And I could see the new guest, a tired man dropping his bag, rubbing his eyes, looking confused at the mirror in front of him. He doesn't see me, just a faint flicker, maybe a trick of the light. I watch him sit on the bed. I want to warn him, to scream, but all that comes out is static. And then, click. The red light comes on. Recording again, just like it did for me. It came from deep within the RV park, echoing between the towering Douglas firs and moss-covered pines like a soul being torn from its body. A single flashlight beam swung wildly in the dark, landing for a second on something, someone, standing unnaturally still between two RVs, pale, tall, motionless. Then it vanished. Shannon stumbled backward, tripping over a coiled water hose, hitting the ground hard. Her breath came in sharp gasps. She could hear her boyfriend, Lucas, shouting her name from inside the RV, but she couldn't answer. Not yet. Her eyes were locked on the space where that thing had been. It was the second night at Deep Pines RV campground. What was supposed to be a peaceful getaway from Seattle had already twisted into something else entirely. From the moment they parked in Lot 13, she felt watched, like the trees were leaning just a little too close. the fog hanging just a little too heavy. The first sign came when their GPS glitched as they turned onto the gravel path leading into the woods. The screen scrambled and began repeating, "This is not your road. This is not your road." They laughed it off then, not anymore. Inside the RV, Lucas was pale and drenched in sweat, gripping a kitchen knife with trembling fingers. "I saw it too," he said, voice cracking. "Outside the bathroom window. It wasn't human." The RV lights flickered. A slow creaking sound moved across the roof, like someone dragging bare feet. Shannon backed against the kitchenette. "We need to leave," she whispered. "We can't. The van won't start. I tried already. Battery's dead. But it was fine this morning." "I know." That night stretched on endlessly. They heard footsteps around the RV, scratching on the door. A low whispering, too quiet to understand, but just loud enough to know it wasn't wind. Around 3:17 a.m., Shannon peeked through the blinds. There were figures outside. 5, 6, maybe more, standing between the trees, still as statues. No flashlights, no movement, just watching. And their eyes, they glowed. By morning, the fog hadn't lifted. They ran to the campground office only to find it empty, dusty, abandoned. Mail stacked up behind the counter dated back 2 years. But they'd checked in yesterday. A woman had handed them keys. There was a sign-in book with their names on it. But the sign-in sheet was blank. A door behind the counter slammed shut. Lucas opened it. A staircase led down. Basement. "Nope," Shannon said, stepping back. But Lucas was already moving. Down in the basement, they found boxes. Dozens of old Polaroids pinned to the walls, RVs parked under trees, smiling campers, families roasting marshmallows, until the photos changed. The same RVs, but empty. Doors wide open, windows shattered. Dark figures in the background, barely visible, but there. And then, photos of them, from the night before. Them sitting by the campfire, Shannon pouring wine, Lucas laughing. Only they didn't take any photos. And in the background, same tall, pale figure, watching, closer in each shot. They didn't stay another night. They couldn't. Lucas hot-wired the engine and drove straight through the fog, not stopping until they were 2 towns away. The fog didn't break until they crossed into Oregon. They told the police, the ranger station. No one believed them. "We haven't had an RV park up there in years," the ranger told them. "That land's been abandoned since 2008. A month later, Shannon still couldn't sleep. She kept waking up at exactly 3:17 a.m. One night, she found another Polaroid tucked under her apartment door. It was a picture of her sleeping. Outside her window, just barely visible in the photo, a tall figure watching.